So yourself, Jay.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Jay's kindly invited us down today to his newly completed property, but it's a house with a bit of a difference. It's a passive house, which I know that a lot of people think they know a little bit about it, but we thought we'd take the opportunity to have a chat with Jay, who knows them really well now, and kind of do a bit of a deep dive into what it is, why he did it, and some of the benefits of it. So, first of all,
Sure.
Jay, what inspired you to build a passive house, and how did you first learn about the concept?
Absolutely. Okay, what inspired me? What inspired me to do a passive house is this. Look, my ultimate chief goal in life, okay, is living this planet better than I encounter it.
Okay.
And we know all human beings have completely destroyed the planet. That's the reality, okay?
Yep.
Or most of us,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. Yep.
Without considering the environment.
Yep.
So I always had, in my heart, I always had this tree hugger mindset,
Where does that stem back from? When
I started earlier on. As a kid, I always, I always look at the living with environment, with our ecosystem, with our harmony. I always had that sustainability mindset.
Yeah.
When I started my MSc at Surrey University, after being an engineer, getting a degree in civil engineering, I saw an amazing opportunity on how to use recycled concrete, how to use recycled aggregates in concrete. So I did my dissertation on how to actually use recycled aggregates to build houses. How to I had that fascination for reusing materials. So ever since I arrived in this tropical island, as I call it, because I'm from Colombia.
Colombia, there, just on the left-hand side.
That is Tayrona Park. Incidentally, amazing place. You put it on your bucket list. I had this fascination to leave leave a legacy. For our kids, for everyone else, just to help with that, to live and look after this planet.
So the term passive house, it's not a term that you've kind of just grown into it. You didn't read it online one day and went, right, that's what I want to do. It's kind of you found what you wanted to do and then realized that actually it is called a passive house afterwards.
Sure.
Okay.
So what happened was this. Look, this is the thing. I strongly believe that once you put a vision out there, the universe helps you to make it real. Okay. So I always had in my head to build an eco home. Okay. But as it transpires, I do a training, or one of my businesses is training, property training, and I help other people with their journeys, property journeys. And one of my students, an architect, came to one of our boot camps, and he basically introduced me to the concept of passive house.
Okay.
He says, I mentioned that I was building a house, and he said, why don't we just go passive?
Do that.
I didn't have a clue about this.
Yeah.
And he basically helped me with the construction drawings, with everything, to get it to that standard.
So on that, kind of leads me on to my second question, Jay, to yourself, is can you describe kind of the key features and design principles of your house that do make it a passive house?
100%. Yeah, no, passive is one of those fancy words that in a nutshell is eco-friendly.
Okay.
What it means is basically this house, as it was built, has a very low U value. A U value is called thermal transmittance value. Yeah.
Okay.
In other words, once you're in the house, the thermal losses are minimal or very close to zero.
Okay.
So the closer to zero that U value, the better. Right. So this house has got 0.14 U value. Right. Okay. So once you're in, keeps the heat in.
Yep.
Right. What happens is without, in the old constructions, we just didn't take that into consideration. Yeah. So as soon as you're in, you lose heat through the windows, you lose heat through the shell. Whereas this house is living in an airplane. Okay.
So can I ask a silly question?
Fine.
Why? So if we shut all the doors, and I lived in here, we didn't leave for 2 years. Yeah. Why wouldn't we die? Why wouldn't we run out of oxygen?
Absolutely. Good question. So one of the key elements of having a passive house is you need to have a system called MVHR system, which is mechanical heat recovery ventilation system.
Right.
It's a little thing that lives in our utility room
Right.
that sucks air from the outside,
Yep.
filters it,
Okay.
okay, and distributes the air around the house.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I even consider when I was doing this was this: like I used to suffer a lot from hay fever,
Right.
because
yeah,
of the pollen.
Yeah.
Gives me, gives me this
Sniffles,
itchiness and all this
yeah.
stuff.
Yep.
But because it's got a system filter air,
Yeah.
at a filter in there in the MVHR system, I don't suffer from that anymore.
So that brings in fresh
Fresh
air
air.
kind of constantly?
Constantly. What happens is this: look, bring fresh air constantly. Then, if you're, let's say, cooking in the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
And then you're producing all this hot air, there is some vents that suck that hot air.
Yep.
Goes back to the MVHR system, mix it with the fresh air, and
Converts it, doesn't
distribute
it?
exactly
Yeah.
distributes it around the house because it's got pipes everywhere.
Yep.
At a set temperature.
Super.
And in the winter, it saves you a lot of money for bills, obviously. So it's really good.
So in terms of when you were building it, what challenges did you face? Because I know that there's a large amount of misunderstanding about passive houses, and also it's not the technology is not readily available. It's becoming more available, but certainly over the last kind of 10 years, it's stepped up a bit. So were there some hurdles that you had to get through? What was the biggest kind of issues? Was it finding builders that actually had any idea of what was going on? Or go on, talk to me, Jay,
it is a long list, okay?
Okay, right.
When I purchased the plot, I couldn't do much with it, sadly. The foundations were not up to standard. I had to demolish the whole thing.
Was it a 30s bungalow?
It was an old 50s bungalow.
50s, okay.
It poorly extended. So I had no choice but to get, demolish it all and start all over again.
Yeah.
So at that point, COVID hit, right?
Okay.
So what I have to do then was to get some tenants on a sort of a win-win, as in really low rent, for them to live in here, because it was livable. Okay. While I was waiting for planning, and while I was waiting for quotes, and
so you didn't live in it yourself?
No, I didn't. No, I was elsewhere. So I had to do that, and obviously avoid the squatters that it's difficult to get rid of them and that sort of stuff. So okay, I did that for the time being to just to get rid of that risk. But then after COVID, guess what? Construction costs were high up.
Yeah.
Everything went high up. Labor, Brexit didn't help either. So I was like scratching my head. How the hell am I going to do? So you know what? As we discussed earlier, there's always, when there's risk, there's always opportunities.
Yeah.
So in my head was like, I want to write a book on this. Okay. I want to inspire other people on how to build a passive house on a budget. So I'm in the middle of doing that as we speak.
Watch out for that then, guys.
So I went and basically packaged every single element.
Yep.
And I basically went through an exercise of how can I reduce cost in here. So for the groundworks, rather than using reinforced concrete, I use posted concrete.
Right.
But reduce the amount of steel, like 40 tons, and reduce the amount of concrete.
Yeah.
So I went from a 385 centimeters reinforced concrete slab down to 125 because I've used tendons instead.
So good savings on that.
For the shell, similarly, in a traditional construction, block work construction, it would have been in the region of 385 grand just the shell.
Okay. Yeah.
So I went to SIP panels option, like a sort of a modular construction.
Yeah.
I reduced that to 178.
Cool.
So a lot of things that I use, with my experience as a developer.
Yeah. So it's kind of all external factors were your biggest kind of ones on that. In terms of materials and technologies, how did you select which materials and kind of technologies to use, like the heat recovery system? Is that did you look at lots of different firms that were building it, or kind of is there lots of firms building these kind of things?
100%.
Or not?
So for every element, obviously you can go and shop around.
Yeah.
There's more than one provider of the system, the MVHR system. There are different companies. Okay. So what I did was have the construction drawings ready and get quotes from X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
And obviously lead time is important. So I had to make sure that they were
Yeah.
you know, they were on time.
Yeah.
So you always do that you know, in our business. We always do tender, get quotes, negotiate much as you
Yeah.
can down to get to where you want
where
to
you
be.
are.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's lead the guys round so they can
Sure.
have a little bit of a further look. We'll go over into the kitchen unit. We've kind of touched on the ventilation system
Yeah.
a little bit, so I don't think we need to go down that route, which is one of my next questions. So, big question here is a lot of our kind of clients ask questions about actually living
Yeah.
in one. So, how has living in passive house affected your daily life and also
Amazing.
the overall comfort compared to
Yeah.
a conventional house?
100%. That's a really good question. Living, okay, is one of those things that I have to pinch myself to tell you why. Because
Yeah.
when I had a vision of building a house,
Mhm.
okay, it was clear to me. But when now they're waking up, so for some reason, I feel that vision is nowhere near and is better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
So it's great. So I'll take you upstairs to my bedroom. She's got an amazing view. So, not in that way. So I've got an amazing view. So, for instance, previously dark days like this, like
Yeah.
today, were not nice to me.
Yeah.
But now that I can see it from the top, the fog looks different,
Yeah.
and I love it. So you know, my mental state, has tremendously impacted positively.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that I don't have to worry about hay fever anymore because all the air is filtered. And the fact that there's plenty of oxygen in the house, so I have no headaches.
Yeah.
Sometimes you wake up with a headache when you close all the windows.
Yeah.
You know, to save on the heating bills.
There's
So
also, Jay,
amazing
the biggest thing that you're always saying to me is the cost. You have there's what were the financial implications of building it, both in terms of obviously initial costs, which was potentially higher in terms of underfloor heating, everything like that. Although you do it probably underfloor heating, we're doing a standard house now anyway. But now you love showing me that app that you've got on your phone, and every time we meet, you're kind of like, look, Phil, I'm getting £2 a day here back to the grid, so I'm literally living in a free house. You run your electric car from the power that the house is actually making. So talk to us a little bit about that as well, Jay.
Sure. Okay. So this is the thing. The good thing about it, thinking sustainably, and also means economic. You know, there needs to have an economic element out of it, right? So yes, the house build costs more. Typically, I'll say 15 to 20%. Okay, depending. On how good your negotiation are, well, your negotiation skills, basically. However, once you start living and running the house, your bills disappear. I mean, in here, my carbon footprint on this house is actually minus 2.2. Why? I've got 26 solar panels that generate more electricity than I need for the house. So whenever I'm not using it, and my batteries are fully charged, I'll sell back to the grid. Okay. Even in a sunny day, I can recharge my car for free with the solars only, no grid. So I'm getting paid. So during the summer periods, I get paid. During the winter periods, I don't get paid. But balances out. So to give you an idea of the system, because I did this for my students, so the cost of the whole, you know, the solar panels, the batteries, the whole electricity setup, I've got it back in 3.2 years. Okay, which is basically great. I recover my money in 3.2 years, then it's basically infinite return. It's a no-brainer for me.
In terms of lifespan of some of the equipment in there, they kind of got 10-year guarantees, stuff like that. So
so minimum, you know, minimum 10-year guarantee. So you know, you know, if you obviously look after them, maintain them well, even more. 20, 25 years even.
So it's not like I know there's been a lot of talk, you know, the electric cars, batteries only having a lifespan, but it's not so much of a thing here.
Because once the envelope is built, you know, this is because it's so robust. It will withstand, you know, 50, 60 years easily. No issues.
Super stuff. And what would you advise for someone considering building their own passive house, Jay?
There's a long list. That's why I'm writing a book.
Yeah. So read Jay's
If-
book when that's out.
Absolutely.
But kind of a couple of 3 or 4 kind
Yeah.
of nuggets of advice just to
100%.
throw at someone. Really.
Yeah. So look, the reason of building a passive house is obviously it needs to go in line with your values first of all, right? You as a person. You need to be passionate about it. It's not an easy journey, but you can. Anyone could do this. Okay. But I said the piece of advice that I would like to pass on is, look, reality is we need to contribute to the problem rather than being the problem. Right? If we start doing nothing, right, to the environment, okay, the world is not going to change.
No.
Okay, so we need to concentrate, going back to your core values, and work on that basis.
Yeah.
In terms of finance, yes, get a lump sum of money. You can get development finance for it nowadays.
Yeah.
Green, get the green sort of options that are out there. Banks are lending money for green alternatives.
Lower
rates,
because
of the all the impact. And shop around, as in do strong construction drawings, tender drawings. Get help on a QS if you need quality surveyor.
Yeah.
But if you're familiar with the system, just really strong construction drawings and go to 5 different options. Always think outside the head.
Yeah.
Always challenge the status quo.
A little bit like you were saying with the flooring.
The flooring heating.
That was yourself that came up with that.
100%.
It wasn't the QS that came up with it,
100%.
was it?
So challenge the status quo and ask why.
Ask questions.
Right. Look, for instance, my structural engineer gave me a solution.
Yeah.
Okay. And if I was just taking that, I would have spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be an engineer to say, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
What's the reason?
Yeah.
And come up with alternatives and challenge that status quo always.
Yeah.
We save you lots of time and money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Super stuff. Thanks, Jay. One last question. Is there anything that you would have done differently?
Okay.
One thing, not...
Right. Okay. There. Look. As we go around the house, as I go around the house, I think there are little things that I think I would have done differently in terms of the design.
Right.
Like the corner seat window that you got over there.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It's just a tiny bit there that was not quite there. So perhaps I say, look, when I did the design of this house, I did 3D drawings, as in renders.
Yeah.
Okay, that helped me with picturing better,
visualizing it. Did you put the VR headset on and that kind of thing?
So I would have done that.
Okay.
So something that I would have done, I recommend to you listeners or to our listeners too, is do that.
Yeah.
On every single room, okay, and how to inform decision.
Take your time in the planning stage.
Yeah. And the design stage. That's one thing I would have done differently. The other bits, I think the challenges that were thrown at me make me grow. All right, made me made me come up with alternatives that can now pass on to other people. So I don't regret them.
Super stuff. Well, thanks, Jay. Thanks for taking the time for letting us round. And any questions about passive houses, give us a call, and we'll certainly try and answer any questions.
Amazing.
Thanks a lot.